All right, hello everybody. Welcome on in. I hope everyone is doing well on this Saturday. I'm going to make sure that the music is a little bit lower. Hopefully, you can still hear my voice over this music. All right, let's shift on over to our just chatting scene. And hello. All right, welcome in everybody. I hope your Saturdays are going well. As advertised on my Discord and in my classes, this is an educational stream. Woo. We're going to be using the video game Hades to talk a little bit about the Greco-Roman gods, systems of culture and religion, and other fun things like that. So that is the plan. If you're watching this after the fact, this video is being recorded, and I'll be putting the link to this video on demand in Blackboard for any students that are not able to tune in live to watch. If you're watching after the fact, great, awesome. You can fast forward or pause or go back as much as you want, because remember that the purpose of the extra credit assignment today, which you can see if you type !321 into the chat, is to take a listen to what I'm talking about in terms of what we interact with and who we interact with in Hades, in terms of the gods that are helping us break out of the underworld. We'll talk more about the story of the video game once we get in. Take any of those 6 facts that you're learning about and tell me about 3 things that you learned, 2 things that you found interesting and want to learn more about, and 1 thing that was still unclear, or 1 question that you have remaining after the stream. So that means that you could pop in and out as much as you'd like. You can watch until you have 6 facts and then you're done. But this 321 assignment will be due on the last day of classes, which is December 11th, at the beginning of our respective class periods. I'm teaching Intro Latin, Readings in Latin, Prose and Poetry 2, and Greco-Roman Gender Sexuality. So whenever our class begins on Monday the 11th, that's when it's due. You can submit that 321 to Blackboard, and I will factor it in whatever way I told you I was going to in the announcement on the Blackboard. I think for Latin, it's just straight up points on the semester. For Greco-Roman Gender Sexuality, it's going to be quiz and exam points. And for Readings in Latin, Prose and Poetry 2, it's going to be some points added to the raw totals. So yeah, that's the idea. If you have not seen the video game Hades before, it's a whole lot of fun. I have a bit of a storied history with the video game for saving my pandemic. The game came out in full access, I think, in like late 2020. And I've been a video gamer for a while. I've had video games in my life since I was like 5 years old, playing with my Super Nintendo back in the 90s. But Hades was the first indie video game that I played, made by a company called Supergiant Games. And being a classics nerd, as you all know that I am, I loved it. It was amazing because it was a really compelling story. It was really good video gameplay, but it was also really, really smart in the way that it dealt with the source material, which is Greek religion, and by extension, Roman religion. I'll talk more about that in a bit. And I just loved it because it's a really good example of reception, and reception is defined as later cultures and later authors and creators taking the stories and the characters and the narratives of the past and adapting them or reimagining them for a contemporary purpose. So video games like Hades and God of War and Civ 6 and other games like that are really good examples of modern reception of Greco-Roman antiquity. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on too. But yeah, that is the plan for today. I'm going to play from now until about 2 p.m. I'll probably take a small break in between somewhere. You'll notice that right here underneath, when I go to my my actual gaming scene, this will show up underneath the chat. Basically, because I'm an affiliate on Twitch, I stream aside from these educational streams. There are ads that will run on this channel, but so I'm going to do my best to not talk about anything important while ads are running. They go for about 2.5 minutes at a time, but you'll see this countdown on the video gaming scene as well, so that you can be aware that I won't be talking about anything super important while those ads are running. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to go to the chat. You should see a chat box there that says send a message or something like that. If you have any questions about what I'm talking about, if you want me to spell something out or type it into the chat, if you want me to slow down, all of you who have me in class know that I tend to talk very, very quickly. If you want me to repeat something that I said, please feel free to hop into the chat and let me know. I'm more than happy to make that happen. But yeah, without any further ado, I think we will get started with the game so that we can just get on with it. So let me pull down the music here. Thank you very much, Spotify, for your service. We appreciate you. We'll move on over to my educational gaming scene. Actually, no, we won't. We're going to go to my BRB scene very quickly because I need to do one more thing for setup. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. Had a little bit of video magic to make sure that I got done. All right, so I think we are ready to click into the game. Apologies if it's a little bit loud. I'll try to adjust when we click in. Let's make sure that our game is showing up, and I think we are good to go. Okay, when you click out of the game, it unfortunately stops the sound, but that's okay. All right, and I think we are good to go. All right, so Hades, the video game. As I mentioned, I'm going to be talking about a few fun facts along the way, and they're going to largely be relating to the characters that we meet. Also, apologies if you can hear this construction noise. There's a drill or something going on in the apartment above me, and I'm very, very mad about it because this is my first stream in quite a while, and of course, construction has to happen on a Saturday, by the way, in the middle of the day here in my apartment building. Anyway, so I'm going to be offering some fun facts about Hades, mostly about the characters that we meet, but also about Greco-Roman religion and culture in general. Of the classes that I'm teaching, 2.5 of them are really Roman-focused, so teaching Introduction to Latin, teaching Readings in Latin, Prose and Poetry too, and then half of the Greco-Roman Gender and Sexuality course, obviously devoted to Rome, and that's where we are right now. The game that I'm playing here, though, has the name Hades, which is the name of a Greek god. So I'm going to be talking a bit about the Greco-Roman world in general, not just the Greeks, but the Romans, and how the two sort of interact. So I'll have a lot of fun facts along the way, and I actually wanted to start off with facts that compare Greek versus Roman, to try to put us into the right mind space before we start meeting some of the gods that we're going to talk about, like Athena and Ares and other folks like that. So there are 2 facts that I want to put out there first and foremost. And actually, first of all, let me just double check that the game sound isn't drowning me out. I think we're good. But please let me know if I need to adjust the volume at all. So 2 facts that I want to start off with. Talk about Greek religion and Roman religion in general. And the reason why we can talk about them in the same breath. Actually, I guess 3 facts then to start off with, because this is something that I'm pretty sure I've talked about in Greco-Roman gender and sexuality, but perhaps not so much in the language classes. So the first fact that I want to put out there is what I mean when I talk about classics or classical studies. In colleges and universities across the United States, when you see that you have a classics department or a classical studies program, what we're often talking about is a program that looks at the ancient Greeks and the ancient Romans in terms of their language, their culture, and their history, their philosophy, their science, and anything that has to do with the ancient Greeks and the ancient Romans. We talk about them in the same breath because the Greeks and the Romans, from the Archaic Age until the Hellenistic period and the Imperial period, were largely seen as the most important powers in the Mediterranean Sea. They were the ones who laid the groundwork for a lot of the things that we still talk about today, things like governmental systems, like democracy, or religious systems, in terms of the gods that we worship and the ways in which we worship them. So Greece and Rome are often tied together under the umbrella of classics or classical studies because there's sort of a natural progression from Greece being the sort of important power in the Mediterranean onward to Rome towards the end of the 1st century BCE. So that's the first fact. When I talk about classics or classical studies, we're talking not just about the Greeks and not just about the Romans, but often them in the same breath. More recent considerations of the classical studies field want to expand that definition outward, and I'm part of this group, wherein it's not just the Greeks and the Romans, but we're also talking about the other cultures that interacted with the Greeks and the Romans at this time. So we're talking about the Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians, the folks in Asia Minor. We're talking about the Gauls. We're talking about the people in Iberia, in modern-day Spain, the people in North Africa, Carthage. So there's lots of different ways in which the Greeks and the Romans didn't just spring fully formed out of a vacuum. they're the product of and influenced by a lot of the cultures around them, even though sometimes you put the Greeks and the Romans up on a pedestal, or at least some scholars do. So that's the first fact. I'm talking about classical studies as generally the consideration of the Greeks and the Romans in terms of literature, art history, architecture, philosophy, religion, politics, and all those things that involve Greek and Roman culture. With a specific focus on religion now, there are two facts that I want to offer in order to put us in the right frame of mind thinking about this video game and the gods that we're going to meet. So first of all, when we talk about Greek religion, and this is the major system of religion that we're going to be focusing on for this video game, because these gods will all have Greek names and whatnot. Greek religion tended to be a little bit closed off in terms of having their own set of gods, knowing exactly who the gods were and what they were meant to have domains over. For example, Zeus having domain over the thunderbolt, Hera, the queen of the gods, Athena, the goddess of wisdom. And we'll talk about each of these gods and goddesses in turn. While Greek religion was a little bit more of a closed system in that regard, when we shift over to the Romans, that tend to be seen as an offshoot of Greek religion, or at least a progression of Greek religion. Roman religion, on the other hand, instead of just being closed off, was more avowedly the term is called syncretistic, syncretistic. And what syncretistic means is that Roman religion was not just formed in a vacuum, it was actually a combination, a melting pot of different influences. So Roman religion, that includes gods like Juno and Jupiter and Diana and Minerva, was not just Roman religion. It felt the influences of the religions of cultures like those in Greece, in Asia Minor, in Egypt. So that's why, for example, in later Roman religion, we have gods like Cybele, the Magna Mater, coming over to Rome from Asia Minor. There are Egyptian gods and goddesses like Isis and Osiris that God worshipped within Roman religion. And this is because Roman religion was sort of like a melting pot. It was a sponge that tended to sort of assimilate, suck in all these different gods that got dominated by Rome in various wars. Lake, welcome on in. Thank you so much for the resub. Very much appreciated. Grad teach indeed. Yeah, welcome on in to the beginning of our educational stream here. So while Greek religion was a little bit more tied off or cordoned off, Roman religion was very avowedly syncretistic. They very much reveled in the idea that they could incorporate new gods into their pantheon. All right, last preliminary fact to start off with before we get into the video game itself is a comparison between Roman gods and Greek gods. Often something that you hear in pop culture in terms of thinking about the Roman gods and the Greek gods is that they're basically the same. Zeus equals Jupiter, king of the gods, god of the thunderbolt. Hera equals Juno, queen of the gods, goddess of marriage. Aphrodite equals Venus, the goddess of love, sex, and relationships. Dionysus equals Bacchus, the god of theater, revelry, and turning up on a Saturday night, having parties. While that is true, at least in part to a certain extent, we can't necessarily say right off the bat that Roman god equals Greek god. Because when we talk about Roman religion, as we are talking about it, for example, in Latin 2212, where we're talking about the gods as they show up in Ovid's Metamorphoses, Jupiter or Neptune or Apollo or other gods like that, the Roman gods are actually combinations and amalgamations of a few different influences. So on the Greek side, for example, the god of the sea and earthquakes is Poseidon, one of the brothers of Hades and Zeus. There's often an equation of Poseidon as the Greek god of the sea to Neptune, the Roman god of the sea. But the problem with that is that Neptune is not just the god of the sea in Rome. He's also the god of horses and a few other different domains that come about as the result of various native Italian influences on the figure of Neptune. Neptune in particular is sort of a combination and a confluence of the Greek Poseidon, again, god of the sea, as well as Consus, Consus, who is a native Italian god of horses. And one of the reasons that Rome ends up populating its city at the foundation of Rome through a festival called the Consualia, which, if you want to learn more about that, feel free to take my Roman Lit course next semester. No, I'm just kidding. But in any case, when we say Roman gods like Neptune or Jupiter or Juno, we can't always make an easy equation. We can't always have an equal sign between, for example, Poseidon and Neptune, because often on the Roman side there are a few more influences to take into account. Put yourself into the headspace, though, of the Greek canon of gods, though, when we're talking about Zeus and Athena and Ares and Aphrodite and folks like that, because that's where we're going to be staying for most of this stream and most of this video game, because Supergiant is very avowedly into Greek mythology. They use the Greek names. They have some Greek characters outside of the gods, like Achilles and Patroclus, who we met in Greco-Roman gender sexuality when we talked about the Iliad. They are just really extraordinarily smart when they created this game, and in fact, there's a sequel coming out next year at some point, which is very exciting. Those guys look very similar to the ones we got in Greek. Oh no, authentic Roman religion, old Etruscan recipe. Yes, exactly. Yeah, the Etruscans, native Italians, very fun. Consus, yeah, sus. We saw Neptune venting. It was very sus. This is very interesting. Appreciate it. Like hearing the game. So it's very, very soft right now. It's just sort of crackling in the background. The title screen of Hades does a really weird thing where it's just like it plays the song once and then it just stops, which is very annoying. Hey Pimpus, welcome on in. Welcome to the educational stream. All right, so let's get into the video game. And what we're going to be doing is playing from a fresh file. We'll do this for at least until 1. I might take it to the end of the stream, but I might go to my my main file at some point just to meet some other gods and see a few other characters. But for now, we're going to start from the very beginning. A very good place to start, and we'll do that by erasing this file that I started this morning just to de-rust the controls of Hades a little bit. You'll notice my main file here. This is not actually true because I have a lot of escape attempts and a lot of playing time on my Switch as well. That's actually where I started playing Hades. But in any case, here we are on my PC. We'll erase this file. Have not played Hades in a long time. I had not played Hades in so long, Pimpus, that I actually needed to re-download it on this computer because I had actually wiped my computer months and months and months ago, and I had forgotten to re-download Hades, but here we are. So we're going to start the gameplay. I'm going to pump up the game audio a little bit here, and I hope you'll still be able to hear me, but there's some dialogue lines and things like that that I'll want you to hear as we go. All right, so let me pump that up just a little bit here. Nice escape count. Hey, thanks, Zonk. Welcome on in. All right, in we go.
Few tales are told of Hades, whose very name inspires fear and penitence, reminding us of the inevitable fate which we all share. I, however, mean to tell you such a tale. Listen carefully.
Let me know how the sound balance is, if you can actually hear the voice lines.
Goodbye, Father.
So, you'll notice Tartarus is going to be where we start off. The idea of this video game, to help this place, the idea of the video game is that we are this guy right here. His name is Zagreus. Let me type his name into the chat. Oop. Cursor is locked. And it is actually very, very smart of Supergiant to have chosen him as the main character. The story of the game goes that we are the son of Hades, the god of the underworld, and we've been growing up in the underworld, and we are a rebellious teenager. We hate it. We want to get out, we want to make it to the surface, and we want to escape the underworld. In order to escape the underworld, we're going to have to fight a lot of enemies along the way. We're going to have to make it through different biomes that have different characteristics about them, like some are filled with lava, some of them are filled with clouds, some of them have different types of enemies and things like that. And there are going to be a few bosses along the way as well that we need to kill in order to make it past. Maybe not kill, because they're already in the underworld. They're already dead. And they're just basically the souls. But in any case, that's the basic idea of the story. The reason why it's really smart that Supergiant chose Zagreus as the main character here, and this is one of those facts that you can put into your 3-2-1s if you're so inclined, is that Zagreus does exist in Greek myth. but in a very, very obscure part of Greek myth called the Orphic Mysteries. Basically, the character Zagreus is so badly attested and not talked about to the extent that Supergiant basically can make up a lot of stories and a lot of connections for Zagreus that are totally legitimate from their own world-building standpoint, just because there's not a whole lot of information about Zagreus in the actual record of Greek myth and Greek religion. So Zagreus is almost like a little bit of a whiteboard. You can basically write anything that you want onto that character. And they turn him into this really, really cool, really fun main character for this game. In terms of the gameplay, you'll notice that we have a... oh, that's why I should not be in this corner. Pardon me. Let me try to put myself in the corner over here. So you'll notice that in the bottom left corner, we have a little bit of health. We have a cast stone, which is this guy right here. You could create a little spells that you can shoot at your enemies. Eventually, to my left here, or to your right, I guess, you're going to see some meta resources, things like darkness and gems and keys and things like that. That won't be too important for our purposes because we're not going to get too far in the game. At least I don't think we will. But in any case, that's what we do. We can dash. Right now we can dash once, but later on we'll be able to dash twice. We can swing a sword. We can have a special attack with a sword.
Get out.
We can dash and attack at the same time. Fun stuff. More like a little bit of gray board. Gray board, very true. It's all mythology anyway, so true. Excited to see this fresh file first run clear. Honestly, there are a lot of runs I'm interested in. Fresh file Hades has never been one of them. Because it is an extraordinarily hard category. But in any case, let's take a look at the door here. The way that the run begins will always begin the same way. You make it to the end of this little hallway so that you can get a sense of the controls and things like that. And then you go from room to room in order to try to make it out by the end. And when we're here, we can press our right bumper to proceed. You'll see the little symbol here, and I'll talk more about this symbol that's on the door after we clear the next room. All right, we've got our first room with enemies.
Try and stop me. You're nothing.
So you notice how angsty Zag is being? We have a lot of... I'm leaving. You can't stop me. I'm a moody teenager and I hate my dad. Very relatable. The moody teenager part, at least. Can you please get hit by my sword? Thank you. There we go.
There she
All right.
is.
So the idea is that, okay, I think I might need to move myself a little bit more. So the idea is that at the end of any given room, when you have cleared all the enemies, you're going to get some sort of reward at the very end of it. The rewards can be some sort of meta currency, like darkness or keys or gems or something like that. But what you really want are these boons from the different Olympian gods, like Athena or Ares or Artemis or Poseidon or Dionysus. And what these boons are basically temporary power-ups that'll give you some sort of ability or some sort of help as you try to fight these enemies and make it out of the underworld. So different gods have different boons. They'll have different effects in terms of powering up your character. And this boon right here, take a look at what you see. We've got a little yellow aura about it, and it looks like a shield of some sort that looks very defensive. So when I accept this boon...
It's got to be her. Then here goes nothing. In the name of Hades, Olympus, I accept this message.
So the first time that Zagreus interacts with any of these boons from any respective god, he's going to basically call on the god. And then when we go to the next scene, or the next dialogue box...
Hail, noble cousin. Now, let's get you from that miserable place. I'll see that all of us upon Olympus do our part, beginning here with me.
So... here's Athena, the goddess of wisdom, as you can see right there in I guess the title card for Athena. And one thing that I want to focus on here in terms of Athena, in terms of a fact that I'm going to give you that you can put into your 3, 2, 1, has to do with Athena's depiction and the way that she actually shows up in this scene right now, over there to the left of the dialogue box. So you'll notice that her skin tone is quite dark, and the fact that Athena is depicted as black here in this video game is actually not a mistake, or it's not Supergiant sort of creating their own take on Athena. What this actually is a callback or a reference to a very interesting controversy in classical studies from around the 80s or the 70s, I think. Let me pull up my notes just to make sure that I have this correct, and that I'm not making it up for you. Yeah, so in 1987, there was a book that was written by a scholar named Martin Bernal that is called Black Athena, The Afro-Asiatic Roots of Classical Civilization. And it was a book that caused a huge stir when it came out because of the fact that it advocated for thinking about Greek religion and Greek culture as being indebted, at least in part, to African and Asiatic traditions, like those from Egypt and Phoenicia and the area of Asia Minor. So, Black Athena, The Afro-Asiatic Roots of Classical Civilization, was a book that was published in 1987 by Martin Bernal. And the adjective there, Black Athena, was specifically meant to evoke this idea of Greek culture and Greek religion being indebted to African and Asiatic roots. This was super controversial, though, for various reasons, most of which were quite racist in the late 80s. And the pushback against Martin Bernal came from a few different angles, some of which were very avowedly racist, some of which were dinging Bernal more on the merits of his argument and his evidence, rather than being overtly racist. I think it's basically understood and accepted now in classics and classical studies that Greek and Roman culture are in fact indebted to African and Asiatic neighbors. Greece and Rome do not just spring up in a vacuum. They don't just do their own thing. They are influenced by, they incorporate a lot of the aspects of the cultures around them because they can't just do their own thing. That's not how cultures work. In the late 1980s, however, this was a new proposition, and Martin Bernal, in writing Black Athena, got a lot of pushback that still persists to this day. So, for example, those of you in Greco-Roman gender sexuality know that a lot of our articles come from the online journal called Eidolon, Eidolon. There's a great article in there by Denise McCoskey that talks about the legacy of Black Athena 30 years later, and basically how it started this massive conversation about the role of race and ethnicity in classical studies, and some other associated issues with the ways in which Greco-Roman antiquity has been used and misappropriated throughout history, particularly by white supremacists and misogynists and xenophobes. But in any case, if you're interested in that, I can send you the link to that Eidolon article. The basic fun fact, though, quote-unquote fun fact, is that this depiction of Athena in the video game Hades and her black skin color is a specific reference to a controversy that arose in classical studies due to the book Black Athena, published in 1987 by Martin Bernal. So let's get back to the game then. In the video game, however, Athena, goddess of wisdom, also another fun fact that you could include in your 3, 2, 1, in addition to being the goddess of wisdom, is also the goddess of military strategy as well. So in terms of her iconography, you'll often see her depicted in armor or having some sort of war implements. So you'll notice that she has a breastplate, she has a shield, and in fact that shield is what her boon actually looks like in the overworld of the game. She has a helmet on. So Athena is also the goddess of military strategy. So a lot of the boons that you get from Athena are defensive in nature, which is why the shield is her symbol here. And when you get a boon, often what you can do is choose from a few different options that will buff your attack, that'll buff your cast, that'll give you an extra thing for your dash, something like that. So heads up that an ad is going to be starting in about 50 seconds. I won't give any fun facts during that time while the ads are running, but I will be continuing to play. If you're on desktop, you'll be able to see my video will sort of go up to the top right corner of the screen. But again, you're not going to be missing very much other than a little bit of gameplay and knocking some enemies on their butts. I'm going to go for dash here because Divine Dash is very helpful. Notice that when I dash, I'm going to get a bunch of shields around me. I can deflect projectiles and things like that. All right, this gem here is Darkness. It's a meta resource. We're not going to have too much to say about it, so let's just make it through the next room.
Stand aside. There's more. Really? You should have
All
listened.
right, we'll collect our Darkness. All right, and we've got coins. We got money next, so again, nothing to really talk about in terms of fun facts, just some money. Where is my last one? Okay, there you are.
Thank the gods.
Cool, cool. Okay, more meta resources, more keys, so not missing too much if you're caught in an ad.
Louds.
Now,
Mechathonic key.
I'm very good at this game, in case you can't tell. Okay, so we've got Heart, which is, again, not perfectly important for the purposes of teaching, so we'll just continue on into the next room. Fresh file Hades is rather silly, yeah. I leave the fresh filing to players like Vareem and other folks that actually know what they're doing in this game. I am but a sad little 3 weps and all weps runner.
A centaur heart.
Right. Ooh, we've got Dionysus. Okay, so I'll wait for the ad break to come back. You tend towards the 40% damage buff, more straightforward to take advantage of. Yeah, absolutely. That is totally fair. It depends on what kind of run you're doing, right? If it's fresh file, the defense on your dash is really good. If you are later on and you're going for like duos and stuff like that, yeah, for sure. 40% damage buff, really good. On special, I think. Also, if you're going for Merciful End, which is the Ares and Athena duo, then you want Ares on your attack and Athena on your special. Cool times. Not Ares, unfortunately. Bad Merciful End setup. Yeah, exactly. No fresh file stonks here, unfortunately. You really do hate to see it. All right, folks should be back from ads. Reset, in my opinion. You're not wrong there. Never got deep enough into it to really play boons that way. Yeah, for sure. When you speedrun this game, in fact, this was my first speedrun game. There are certain duos that you want and certain resources to think about, but yeah, Merciful End, too good. Hey Zap, thank you for using educational. This is in fact an educational stream for my students that will be recorded and sent off to them later. I think some of them might be in stream right now, but yeah, welcome on in. Hope you're doing well. Did I really start with Hades? Actually did. So Hades I started playing right when it released out of early access. And then Hades was actually my pipeline into Twitch as well. Because once I finished with Hades, I wanted to see other people playing it. So then I got onto Twitch. I saw folks like Jawless Paul and Halion playing and Dunko. And then through Dunko's stream is how I started learning about Hollow Knight. And then Hollow Knight started and took over my entire life and then got me into all the other Twitch communities. So Hades was actually my pipeline. Hades was your pipeline into indie games and Twitch too? Yeah, it definitely was mine. So like I wouldn't be here right now if it weren't for Hades. It's quite interesting. Anyway, welcome back from ads, everybody. We have just been going through some rooms with meta resources and whatnot, but we have another God's Boon coming up in this very scary next room. You'll see a little skull here, meaning that this is a mini boss room, which means I might die in this next room. Kind of scary. Imagine letting Hollow Knight fundamentally alter your social life. Couldn't be me. Hello, Quacksilver plays. Welcome on in. All right, let's get in here. But first, take note of what this boon looks like. Looks like a little wine glass, right? A little bit of wine, turning up on a Saturday night, or even just, comfy cozy in bed, but more probably turning up on a Saturday night. Let's see who this is.
They absorbed my blow.
Oh, ow. So the other thing about this game that I probably should have warned folks about is that there are a lot of flashing lights, and it's quite loud, and it is quite overwhelming. I love this game, but my husband, when he watches me playing it, cannot watch for any longer than like a minute at a time, because it's very like overstimulating. There's a lot going on, so apologies for not warning folks about that. Laying down dominoes, smallest as Proto-Indo-Europeans think the sun is a divinity, because it's described as a prominent member of a somewhat tight-knit Hollow Knight speedrunning community. That's how we get from A to Z. That is exactly how it works. Thank you, Lake. But yeah, all right. Here is our next god that we're going to meet. Unfortunately, not the god that we want in a fresh file run, but just kidding. Once again, wine glass, some nice imbibables right on the inside. Let's see who this is.
That was revelry? People having a good time? Well, sure then. In the name of Hades, Olympus, I'll accept this message.
That was revelry. People having a good time. I like having a good time.
Hey there, Zagman. How's it going? Look, you have got to get here with the rest of us already. We've been saving you a spot. Let me see what I can do. Make life a little sweeter for you in the meantime.
Say hello to my favorite god in this entire game, Dionysus, known as the god of wine. So you'll notice that he has that chalice down there on the bottom left with the wine sort of like sloshing out. He has the grapes around his neck and in his hair, festooning his appearance here. Also dressed like, I dress for class. Normal stuff with just a little sash and whatnot. Pretty cool stuff. So this is Dionysus, the god of wine. The fact to include in your 3-2-1, if you so desire, is the fact that he's not only the god of wine, but also the god of theater and the god of revelry. So Dionysus in particular was a very important god for the ancient Athenians in terms of theatrical performances. The main theater in Athens, where ancient Greek drama was performed, both tragedies and comedies, was a theater called the Theater of Dionysus. The major religious festivals at which, one of the most major religious festivals at which theatrical performances were performed, either tragedy or comedy, was called the City Dionysia, meaning a religious festival in honor of Dionysus. And one of the ways that they honored the god Dionysus was by putting on plays in his religious honor. So Dionysus is not only the god of wine, but also the god of theater, to the point that he has physical structures like the Theater of Dionysus named after him, as well as religious festivals wherein folks make sacrifices, put on plays, and pray to the gods. A major religious festival called the City Dionysia in his own name. The pipeline answer. The DD Hundo raises it radicalization or being trans. So true. Also has a slutty thigh ring, which I'm sure has nothing to do with me liking him at all. True. Shocked that this would be my favorite god, honestly and truly. He's purple and friendly, so I like him. He is purple and friendly. Purple is the best color. It is my favorite color. Why he purple? Because purple great. I like purple. So Dionysus, however, in his characterization in this video game, Supergiant really leaned into the wine part and the drunkenness part, to the point that of the different things that you could choose in terms of his boons, they all have some sort of, wine or drunk element to it, or after party element to it. So I think what we're going to go for here is premium vintage. Premium vintage? Maybe not. I don't know, Chad. What should I go for? I love Friends. More like purple grape. So true. Because I want to kind of save my flourish for Athena later on, but I don't even know if we're going to get Ares in this run anymore, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, vintage is good. In fact, vintage is great.
Leave it to the god of wine to liven things up around here.
All right, cool. Let's go into the next room. Another meta resource room. Darkness, we don't really need to talk about that. You know who will need to talk about Darkness a lot? One Quacksilver Plays, when she and one Cthulhu do their Max Mirror of Night race tomorrow. It's gonna be great.
You're gone.
Is it really tomorrow? No, it's not.
The underworld's
I am merely memeing. Always take vintage because every meta resource will help the next Mirror of Night run. I assume this is, yeah, there you go, exactly. Love that vintage comes from there and has to mean that. Vintage comes from there? Wait, what?
got it.
I think I missed something. Keys, more meta resources.
Wretches.
Oh, vintage comes from wine, yes. Vinum, V-I-N-U-M, is the word for wine in Latin. And in fact, the word wine with that W, you can see V's and W's are very closely related in Latin. Those of you that are in my language classes hopefully know that. Cool language fact that you never thought of? Yeah. Something mean retro, then in French? Yeah.
Wonder where
All
I
right.
can use this.
Okay, we've got 204 coins, so that means that we could possibly see a new god here in the shop. But before we... Okay, I think it's pretty good. But before we get there, let me pull up my notes just to make sure that I have what I'm about to talk about correct. Yeah, all right. So here in our shop, we have this guy right here. And you'll notice that he looks... we'll see his characterization a little bit more closely when I talk to him, but you notice that he has a little boat here, a little ferry boat on this river. That's because this is Charon, who can only say "Gugh," and he looks kind of creepy, not gonna lie. But you notice that he is built here as the Stygian boatman. So Charon is the ferryman of the underworld. So by boatman, we're talking about ferrying people, or more accurately, souls, into the underworld. So he's the one who brings newly dead souls on a boat from the land of the living into the underworld, which is where we are right now, the land of the souls of the dead. And Charon doubles as the ferryman of the dead, but also our shopkeeper on these runs. So Charon here, you'll notice that he has his oar in his hands in terms of that characterization. We've got some coins along his necklace here. I'll give some more fun facts about Charon later on and talk about those coins in a bit. You'll notice the skull, meaning dead, fun facts. Hebrew has, the Gauls were so good at, the Romans got jealous. Oui, so true. A lot of languages literally use W to represent the V sound. It's the other way around in Latin, at least. The V in Latin, so V-I-N-U-M, is pronounced vinum, with a W sound, which is represented by the W in English. So it goes the opposite way, at least, in that way. Slavic languages, yeah. Yeah, W for V, yeah, exactly. Interesting stuff. In terms of the movement of languages. Anywho, Charon, Stygian boatman, ferryman of the dead, where he brings souls into the underworld.
Why, good to see you, Charon, mate. Just minding my own business, taking in the sights, and hey, what's that you got? Some sort of wares for sale? Then I'll just have a look around.
I don't think there's a lot of ancient authority for Charon as a shopkeeper, but you know what? It's convenient enough. Let's go ahead and just go with it.
The infernal wares of the Stygian boatman Charon lie sprawled about, available for sale to whomever would be willing to quench the boatman's great thirst for riches.
So one other thing that I want to point out, and we can count this as a fact to include in your 321 as well. Also, by the way, students, if you're just joining, make sure to use !321 to know what the assignment is, or to go straight to Blackboard. It's listed there in the assignment. Another fun fact that you can include in your 321. In the description of Charon as the Stygian boatman, you see it in the description here, Stygian. That's an adjectival form of the name Styx, Styx, which is one of the rivers of the underworld. Underworld geography is very, very confusing, and it really depends on which source you're looking at, whether we're talking about the underworld in Homer's Odyssey or the underworld in Virgil's Aeneid or in Ovid's Metamorphoses. There are different sources that deal with the underworld in different ways and depict it in different ways. And one of the elements of the underworld includes its rivers, and how many rivers there are and what the rivers' names are. One such river is called the River Styx, Styx. So when we say Stygian boatman, we're referring to one of the rivers of the underworld. Need to take another Latin class again? I'm teaching my intro Latin class next semester. Just kidding. I mean, I'm not kidding. I am teaching it next semester, but I'm kidding about you taking it, Zonk. Can't speak for Romanian. Imagine knowing anything about Romanian. It is a Romance language, clearly, but I don't know anything about it. Word initial W into V. Yeah, I guess it's a question of priority, right? Which language comes first, or however that works. Makes sense. Dude charges you just to die. He strikes the contemporary eye as a hyper-capitalist. You know, when you're right, you're right. Also, I did the thing again where I see Lake's name and I see Quack's name, and I think that the messages are coming from the same person. They're not. Spanish went to the voiced bilabial fricative, I believe. Voiced bilabial fricative. I always forget what fricatives are. Fricatives are... They're not labials, they're not on the lips, right? People thread? So true. Anywho, that's Charon. We can get another boon from Athena here. Let's see if I've got a fun fact about Athena to share beyond what I've already shared. I believe I do. Yeah. Okay, so this will actually be very helpful and very a nice tie-in for those of you that are in Latin 2212 right now. The fun fact that I'm about to talk about here.
You're difficult to track there in the depths, cousin. Though the boatman Charon, thankfully, is proving of some help.
So, in Latin 2212 this week, we've been reading about Arachne versus Minerva in Ovid's Metamorphoses. We've been translating that narrative from Latin into English. And Minerva is the Roman equivalent, quote unquote, to the goddess of wisdom Athena in Greek. But that means that a lot of the iconography and a lot of the things that are associated with Athena are also associated with Minerva. And one such thing is something that we actually talked about in class literally on Thursday. The Aegis, Aegis, is often seen as a symbol of Athena / Minerva. And the Aegis is, again, various things at various times, but it's basically seen as a defensive thing, most often characterized as a shield that often has the face of Medusa or a Gorgon on it in order to petrify enemies into being defeated. So the Aegis here, you can kind of see it on in the breastplate that Athena is wearing here. So as opposed to thinking about it as the round shield here, the Aegis is actually what Athena is wearing as a breastplate and a torso plate. And the reason for that is because take a look at the lower part of her torso. You can see the face of Medusa with the snakes for hair right there, meant to petrify the enemies that Athena is facing down. So the Aegis is basically a protective piece of armor. It could be a shield in various sources, but here, at least in this game, Supergiant has interpreted it as a breastplate. Hey, Floyd, welcome on in. Hey, D's nuts. So true. Hey, D's nuts. I just got what you were saying there. Very true, Flip. Thank you for setting a wonderful example for my students. What Medusa doing down there? You know, her best. That's what she's doing. Well, that sucks. In order to get the duo that I want, I need special. But we can go for Athena Legendary. Sure. We need deflect attacks that deals more damage. Let's do it.
The Shield of Light.
Sure footing, in my opinion. All right, more meta resources. Let's keep going.
You want to die again?
Okay, odds are really good that if I make it to the boss, then I'm gonna die to the boss in this area, but we'll see what happens. Especially if I keep taking dumb damage like that. Ow. Please.
You had it coming.
How can you mix this up? I clearly don't have Amazon. Imagine. Sure footing is useless if you simply never get hit by traps. Well. Brilliant repost value? Yeah, exactly. See?
Heal myself, but I can fight.
Here we go. Here we go again. Ow. Or let me just take every single projectile of damage. How about that instead? Amazing. I'm very good at this video game, by the way, in case you're wondering. There we go.
Palm of power.
Sure.
They must have lots of these upon Olympus.
Alright, so we're about to go into the boss. We're gonna die to the boss very, very badly here. Actually, maybe we won't. Because we got a little bit of help.
Beyond the present chamber lies the outermost perimeter of Tartarus, promising terrifying dangers far beyond the Underworld Princess reckoning.
So this is the end of the first biome. Spoiler alert, there are 4, I guess we could call them, total. And the fact that I am only on half health here, doesn't bode very well for getting to the second, third, or fourth biomes, but that's okay. Megan indeed.
Quite a bit.
Right. So.
Well, this is awkward.
Halt, Zagreus. Not one step further.
So this is Megara, first of the Furies, as the title implies here. One of 3 sisters, and Quacksilver plays his girlfriend. So let me make sure to pull up my notes here, just to make sure that I'm giving you the correct lowdown on the Furies here. Also, this is the famous time when I last did an educational stream. There was a little bit of a vocal flub that I'll talk more about when we get there. But anyway, Meg, otherwise known as Megara, first of the Furies, is one of 3 sisters known as the Furies. Make sure to spell that with 1 R, F-U-R-I-E-S, because if you spell it with 2, that's a very different group entirely. The Furies are a group of 3 sisters whose mythological purpose is to punish various crimes that are committed by mortals, including moral crimes, oath-breaking, and murders, especially including intrafamilial murders, when a son kills a parent, when a parent kills a child, or a brother kills a sibling, or something along those lines. Fun fact, Megara means the jealous one and has evolved into the French word mégère, which means an old woman who constantly complains. Hashtag goals. I actually didn't know that. Is that really what? Hold on, wait. Megara means the jealous one? Is that true? Hold on, wait. Hold on. Wait a minute. How did I not know this? Yeah, I mean, it says literally the jealous one, but what's the, in the Wikipedia article, but what's the... Oh, okay. Okay, interesting. Okay, so ancient Greek, there's this verb, megairo, which, by the way, if you want to learn ancient Greek, I'm teaching ancient Greek, Intro to Ancient Greek, for the first time at Fairfield in many years. So feel free to take my class next semester if you want to learn all about this verb. Megairo apparently means to grudge or to envy somebody. From the Proto-Indo-European root meg, which means great, apparently. Interesting. Okay, so then that's the word that gives us like megas in Greek, which means big. And if it's something big, then you can begrudge somebody it because you are jealous of how big it is. Wow. Okay, today I learned. Okay, that's a fun fact that you can include in your 3-2-1s, thanks to Professor Caffeinated Composer here. Very much appreciated. Like, oh my god, that's really cool. I didn't know that. Today I learned, and this is my fucking educational stream. Sorry. Thank you, Like. I appreciate it. Hey, Jen, welcome on in. Thank you for the good luck things. Hope you're doing well. I hope Super Lesbian Animal RPG went well. I saw that you were streaming. I wasn't able to pop in for much, but I hope it went well. All right, so Megara, one of the Furies, Furies, not double R. One of three sisters who are meant to punish the transgressions of mortals, often intrafamilial murders and things like that. Going into etymology reveals extremely interesting tidbits. Yeah, so my Latin 2212 students unfortunately know how much I love getting into the minutia of words. I've spent at least like 10 to 15 minutes at a time talking about, like, you know, pulling verbs apart, where you have like in the word inspire comes from literally words that mean to breathe into something, right? When you pull words apart, it's really, really cool to think about what they actually mean, even if they have sort of like a transferred or a more commonly accepted meaning, right? Cabbage, welcome on in. Thank you for the 16 months. All the teach emotes. Hope you're doing well, Cabbage. We're talking about language, which I think you, Dr. Cabbage, would appreciate. Do you know that morning is cognated with mortal? I don't think I know that. What? Morning is cognated with mortal? In what way? Because mortal from mort, right? Like, or mourir, to die. Morning is the death of the previous day? Question mark? Anywho, here we are. Where Megara is one of our bosses here. Morgan comes from Morgunas, from Merco, from Mer, which also gave mourir. Oh. To a notion of okay, like we're going to talk about this because I'm very intrigued.
Haven't we had more than enough of each other by now? Besides, don't you have someplace else to be?
Also, in order for this video game to be commercialized, no, kidding. But there's a love story that goes on between Zagreus and Meg, and lovers off the battlefield, but sworn enemies on the battlefield, because Meg is supposed to try to keep Zag from getting out of the underworld.
Your father sent me. All in all, I'd rather be on your bad side than his. Now you can turn back like a good little man, or I can send you home the painful way. What'll it be?
So Zag's into pain.
I'll have to go with the painful way.
See? Quod erat demonstrandum.
A man after my own heart.
Quod erat demonstrandum.
Here's my whip.
Here's my whip. So true.
There.
Okay. Dude. Oh god. Okay. Well, I'm definitely gonna die here. Ooh, shoot. Okay. When you only have one dash, it kind of sucks because you can't really get out of the way. Oh well, I died. PDSM Alicia, thank you, Lake.
Damn it.
So the thing about dying in this game, this is a kind of video game called a roguelike, where the idea is that...
Hang on, everyone, don't mind me.
Don't mind me. Is that after you die in a run, when you are not successful in making it to the end of your run, you respawn at the very beginning. The idea is that you learn as you go along, and then you can continue to try to make runs. You can upgrade yourself here in this central hub before you go. But the idea is just to sort of like try again and make it eventually to the end after increasing your stats and things like that. Rip the first run dream. The first run dream was dead long ago. Let's be real. Must leave from cool language discussions. Hope have good teaching stream. Thanks, Zonk. Have a good rest of your day. But yeah, so in this game we are back in the House of Hades. So let's go ahead and meet the titular. Actually, no. Before we talk to him, let's talk to this guy over here.
Welcome to the House of Hades, where... Wait, I know you. Guess that means you died out there, huh? Well, don't be sad, though. Pretty much everybody dies sometime.
So this is Hypnos, sleep incarnate. The Greek word hypnos literally means sleep. But there are various gods and goddesses throughout Greek religion that are basically personifications of general ideas, right? So you have lowercase s sleep, as in, sleep, the thing that you do at night. You have also uppercase s sleep, or hypnos, as the god of sleep. So here we have the god of sleep, Hypnos, known as sleep incarnate. And let's see what fun facts I have about Hypnos for all of you. I don't know if I actually have any, because... Oh, there he is. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I actually do have a fun fact about Hypnos then that I will not share yet because we are going into an ad. Cool. So when we're back from the ad, I'll share a story about Hypnos. In the meantime, I'm just gonna walk around the house here, and then we'll talk to each of these people and share some fun facts about them as we go. So 4 seconds. See you all when we're back from ads. And in the meantime, you're not gonna be missing much.
Some of us more than others.
I love the art in this game. Like, it is just so well done. In terms of the different characters and the different details and things like that. Later on in the game, you can upgrade the surroundings here in the house, in terms of what the columns look like, the draperies, and the floor tiles and stuff like that. It's very cool. Hey Dunks, welcome on in. Edumacation, so true. The Dan 139 hype. Hope you're doing well, Dunks. Welcome on in. We are currently taking a break from talking about cool fun facts about Greco-Roman gods and ancient mythology and religion, because folks are about to go to ads. So we are basically stalling until the ads are done. While in ad break, check clips in MathCord. Oh no! What have you posted? Quack. Content exists, but it's not necessary. Okay, hold on. Quack, I love you. I cannot believe. Okay, that's going to be a featured clip. Indo-European language is the same. So true. Hypnos comes from Swep. Initial S for initial H. Related to assoupir, to put to sleep in French. Also used reflexively nowadays to fall asleep. Oh, interesting. Indo-European language is the same. So true. 1 second. We got to get our blush emote in there. Anywho, yeah. Thanks, Quack. I appreciate it. Anywho, so yeah, this game is just gorgeous and beautiful, and I love it, and it's all wonderful. We're gonna have three. Yeah, we're gonna have at least three folks to talk to here. 4 in addition to Hypnos. And I'll share that fun fact when we are back from the ad break. I love this game. I haven't picked it up apparently since November 2022, which is the last time I did an educational stream with this video game, which is quite funny. It's a good game. I like it a lot. All right, welcome back everybody from ads. I hope you are all doing well. We're gonna probably go. Actually, I'm probably gonna go straight until 2 instead of taking a break because I can handle that. We're fine. All right. As mentioned before break, we're going to talk about this guy that's on the screen right now. Unfortunately, I've advanced past this text box, but this is Hypnos, the god of sleep. So the fun fact that I'm going to share about Hypnos has to do with his role in literature, namely in the story of Homer's Iliad, which is a Greek epic poem about a specific episode in the Trojan War, which is fought between the Trojans on the one hand and the Greeks on the other hand. Backstory of the Trojan War essentially is that a Greek wife named Helen gets stolen away by a Trojan prince named Paris. And in order to defend Greek honor and to get Helen back, her husband Menelaos, Menelaos' brother Agamemnon, and a bunch of other Greek kings and chieftains sail across the sea over to Troy to wage a war to bring Helen back. In Homer's Iliad, there is depicted in the last year of the war, or the 9th or 10th year of the war, this conflict between Achilles, the greatest warrior of the Greek army, and Agamemnon, the commander of the Greek army, in terms of war prize, a girl named Briseis. Birdie, welcome on in. Thanks for the 16 months. Hope you are doing well. Happy Saturday and education indeed. We're in the middle, Birdie. We're in the middle of talking about the Iliad, so you may appreciate it. But yeah, so yeah, the majority of the Iliad is basically Achilles being a sullen teenager and refusing to fight for the Greeks. But other characters in the Iliad include the Greek gods themselves. So you have folks like Zeus and Athena and Hera and Ares and Apollo, basically taking sides in the Greco-Trojan War on one side or another. And various gods have their own like partisan reasons for being on the Greek side or on the Trojan side. Zeus, as the king of the gods, wants to remain above it all. He basically enjoins the gods from taking sides, but that doesn't stop the gods from doing their own thing. The gods are extraordinarily petty. They're extraordinarily selfish. They do things for their own personal benefit very, very often. So in any case, the way that Hypnos, or sleep, incarnate, the god sleep, factors into the Iliad is in a major episode in Book 14 of the Iliad, wherein Zeus has basically just told the gods, you shouldn't be taking sides, you should let the Greeks and the Trojans fight this out and let the war go the way that it's going to go. Hera, his wife, doesn't like that very much. She wants to favor the Greeks, and she wants the Greeks to win out. So what she does is, in a famous episode called The Bed Trick, she has Hypnos put Zeus to sleep after Hera and Zeus have had sex, in order to have Zeus out of the way while Hera machinates the war to swing in the Greeks' favors. Hypnos, as a god of sleep, can also put people to sleep and put gods to sleep. So Hypnos gets enlisted by Hera, the queen of the gods, to put Zeus to sleep after Hera and Zeus have had sex, in order for Hera to do her own thing unimpeded by Zeus, who would prevent her from showing partisanship over to the Greeks. So Hypnos, important in the story of the Iliad. So true, Birdie, so true. Book 14, boy, they must be on like 300k by now. So true. A quick post-sex nap. You know, sometimes you just need to rest. That's all I'm saying. In any case, that's how Hypnos factors into the Iliad. So we've got 3 more characters to talk about. Let's talk about one of my other favorite characters in this game.
Good to see you, lad, despite the circumstances. Remember your training out there. The pain of death is but another obstacle.
So, this is Achilles, forgotten hero, quote-unquote forgotten hero. One of the things that I most love about this game is the way that they treat the story of Achilles. So those of you that are in Greco-Roman gender and sexuality, we spent a class talking about the Iliad, and we talked a lot about Achilles and his best friend, Patroclus. Here in this game, Achilles makes an appearance, and Patroclus will as well, though at a later point of the game, in a way that is quite narratively interesting. Supergiant turns the story of Achilles and Patroclus into a sort of like a lovers separated by fate type of situation. It's quite good. And if you ever have a chance to play this game and get to where Patroclus shows up in the later part of the game, it is very worth it. If you know the story of Achilles and Patroclus from the Iliad, because it is just so smart the way that they do this. Anyway, enough intellectualizing. Achilles. In terms of the fun fact that that you might be able to put into your 3-2-1, is the best of the Greek warriors on the Greek side. And the focus of the Iliad, which is the epic poem that we were just talking about, centers mainly on the quote-unquote wrath of Achilles, or the anger of Achilles. In Greek, the word is menis, M-E-N-I-S, because men make you angry. No, just kidding. Menis, or wrath, which is the sort of celestial anger or the celestial grudge that somebody can hold. It's often used of gods having anger against one another, but putting that celestial wrath into the figure of Achilles makes him this sort of almost like superhuman figure. He himself is the son of a goddess named Thetis, who is the definition of a helicopter mom. She shows up quite a lot in the Iliad. So Achilles is semi-divine in his own right, but there's a lot more to the character of Achilles in the Iliad, as those of you in Greco-Roman gender sexuality know. Here in this game, though, in the narrative of Hades, the video game, Achilles has been hired or forced, I guess, by Hades, the god of the underworld, to be a trainer for Zagreus, to train him how to fight, to train him how to defend himself in the underworld. So that's why he's saying, remember your training out there, because Achilles is the one who is training Zagreus in fighting. Also, yeah, welcome in, Neon Lights. I don't think I said hello yet. Hope you're doing well. The best friend who would know him even in complete darkness or some shit. So true. The same best friend who wanted to be buried for all of time in the same urn with Achilles' ashes. That best friend, you know. Two dudes hanging out in an urn 5 feet apart. Nothing too weird about that. Gal pals, but they're both Greek warrior men. So true. The homies. If you are a student just joining the educational stream, a quick reminder that the way to what we're doing here is that I'm playing through this video game and talking about the characters that we meet and some fun facts about Greco-Roman religion and Greco-Roman culture and history and things like that. Feel free to choose any of the facts that I'm talking about to write a 3-2-1 response. 3 things that you found, 3 things that you learned, 2 things that you found interesting and want to learn more about, 1 question that you still have about the material, or 1 thing that was unclear. And then you can submit that to Blackboard under the appropriate assignment. It'll be due on our last day of classes at our respective class times. So 9:30 for Intro Latin, 12:30 for Greco-Roman Gender Sexuality, and 2 p.m. for Latin 2212. Besties, you know, we love besties here.
And fear is for the weak. Take care, Achilles.
Oh, Achilles. I do love the character of Achilles. By the way, like, Achilles looks like Brad Pitt in this game. Which is quite interesting when we compare him against the depiction of Patroclus. Again, I don't think we're actually going to meet Patroclus in this stream, but if you look up Patroclus in the Hades video game online and the way that he looks, it's actually the source material for an article that I want to write about why Patroclus is depicted the way that he is, in particular as having a dark skin tone or black. It's quite interesting. Interesting stuff. Fears for the weak. Me before jumping into a crocodile pit and then getting eaten up.
The House of Hades, that dark and lavishly appointed lair of the underworld's king, is home not just to him, but to his willful progeny.
So House of Hades?
You, old man.
You know I can hear you, old man. We can hear the narrator. Quite funny. All right. So actually, oh wait, we have 3 more people to talk to, including the most important character for any of us to talk to.
Infernal watchdog Cerberus regards the underworld prince with mixed emotions, from purest joy to deepest melancholy.
Cerberus is the best boy. So here's another fun fact to include. Cerberus is a 3-headed dog that is the guardian of the underworld, basically meant to prevent folks from getting out of the underworld and prevent anybody that shouldn't be getting into the underworld from getting in. So Cerberus, though, is just the best boy. Look at Cerberus here. And the best part of this video game, by the way.
Watch over things for me, won't you, boy? You know I'd take you if I could.
Take a look at this left trigger action that we can have here.
Boy.
I will not just merely listening to this.
You can pet the dog in this game. Yeah. We don't know what Cerberus comes from, so we don't know what it comes from. But this is a fun fact. It comes to mean something like spotted in Greek, I believe, like dappled in the sense of like having different spots and whatnot. So I don't know about etymology, but I believe that that kerberos in as an adjective in ancient Greek actually means like spotted, which is why we can call Cerberus Spot. He's a good little dog.
Pet your other heads, don't bite my arm off. Deal?
If you've ever seen that that website, Can You Pet the Dog? In terms of like a site that documents whether you can pet the dogs in video games. Hades, I think, is at the top of the list. So good because you can pet the dog over and over again. How cool is that? How great is that?
You don't like it when I pet your other heads, huh? No.
Proto-Indo-European Kerberos suggests as a possible etymon. It does mean dappled spotted. Let's go. I know my linguistics. No, I don't. All right, let's talk about the reason for the season here.
Stupid boy. I told you nobody gets out of here, whether alive or dead. So how was your wanton ransacking of my domain?
It's uncertain due to phonological changes, though. Fair enough. All right, so Hades here is the god of the dead and the god of the underworld. He is one of 3 brothers. Is that true? It's Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, right? I have this in my notes somewhere, but I'm neglecting to bring it up because I have a different fun fact that I want to share. In any case, Hades is the god of the underworld. It is? Okay, thank you. Hades is the god of the underworld that is meant to have domain over the souls of the dead and the different areas of the underworld. And in fact, because the video game is called Hades, which is the name both of this god as well as a name for the underworld itself, a lot of the mythology centers around Hades and the goddess Persephone, who we may talk about later. I'm not entirely sure. But in any case, the fun fact that I actually wanted to share about Hades has to do with his name. In terms of the etymology of Hades, it seems to come from two different parts. The first part of it is what's called an alpha privative, which is basically a negation in ancient Greek that means not. And then the des part that has sort of an EI sound that gets swallowed up by the A, comes from the verb horao, which means to see. So aides quite literally means something like not able to be seen, or the unseen one. And that perhaps makes sense when we're talking about the underworld. The entire point when you're dead is that you don't see that person anymore, right? But in terms of, a god's ability to appear and disappear, that's pretty cool too. So the etymology of Hades' name seems to derive from words that literally mean not seen or unseen. And this is the fact that Supergiant has really leaned into. The music track for a later point of the game is called The Unseen One. So they really lean into the etymology and the mythology behind these gods. Really cool stuff. In this game, however, Hades is an overbearing dad. He is the one that we, Zagreus, want to escape from because he's a really mean dad, and we don't like him a lot. Alpha privative comes from a resonant nasal in Proto-Indo-European. Ooh, that's really interesting. Okay, a resonant nasal. Wow. Okay. Cool. Interesting. Also, Unseen One is the last rank you can get if you follow the money dumping quest to the end. Yeah, because Unseen One is like the rank that Hades himself has, I believe. Yeah. Weedays. Yeah. How cool is that? Language is awesome, right? Okay, so I actually think. Yeah, let's let the ads run in 13 minutes because then that'll give us a full 30 minutes until the end of the educational stream. All right. So Hades, overbearing dad. We hate him. He's terrible.
Greetings, Father. My ransacking was a delight, thank you for asking. So I'll just be on my way again.
Be on your way indeed. What do I care? You shall never reach the surface. Go, see for yourself.
He usually talks back at the end, so I'm surprised that Zach doesn't have anything to say there. All right, we are about to meet somebody else, and let's go ahead and meet her. Hi, Mom.
Come home. Do not despair, child. Such setbacks are inevitable and may be overcome with effort and with time. You made contact with the goddess Athena. She shall be true to her word.
So Nyx here is night incarnate. So in the same way that Hypnos is sleep incarnate, Nyx is night incarnate. Because the word nux, nuktos, feminine in Greek, literally means night. So lowercase n, night, uppercase n, Nyx, meaning the goddess of night. Spoilers, oops, sorry. The fun fact about Nyx is that she does show up in Greek mythology as an actual goddess but not exactly, because in sources like Hesiod and Hesiod's Theogony, she's more associated, rather than being like an actual god, as being almost like a force, a primordial force of nature that is responsible for or involved with the creation of the universe. So as opposed to Zeus and Athena and Ares that have, their own characterizations and their own specific domains, Nyx seems to be even more powerful. And even more wide-ranging, according to our most ancient sources, like Hesiod's Theogony, that talks about the birth of the gods and genealogies of the gods. So Nyx is a primordial force responsible for or involved with the creation of the universe. Here in this game, however, she becomes a maternal figure for us, for reasons that'll become clear the further on we get into the game. I did know that Nyx comes from the Greek word nyx, that means night. Hey. But yeah, Nyx, Nyktos, I believe, yeah, it is etymologically related to nox and noctis in Roman, in Latin, which is where we get the word nocturnal from, meaning, having to do with night. Primordial force like chaos? Exactly, actually. Nyx and chaos are talked about in the same breath, I believe. I believe they're talked about in the same breath in the Theogony, but I could be wrong about that. Direct cognate? Yeah. How do we get from the upsilon to the O, though? Nyx to nox. Nyx, nox. I don't know. I guess this counts as a fun fact if you want to include it. Notice the Y in Nyx. That's an English or Latin alphabet transliteration of the Greek letter upsilon that is pronounced like the letter U. Ooh. So when I say Nyx instead of Nyx, that's why I'm pronouncing it that way, because the upsilon is pronounced with an U sound. So Nyx, and it's why I also say hypnos instead of hypnos. Anglicizations of the pronunciation of a Latinate upsilon go to that almost brighter sound, like Nyx or hypnos. But whenever I see an upsilon, like, I tend to go to the Greek, so that's why I say Nyx and hypnos. PIE was an O. Oh, PIE was an O. So then, how do we get to the upsilon in Greek then? Ooh, that's interesting. Oops, all Celon, so true. Is that why Cyrillic uses a Y look like to represent the sound U? Yeah, so the Cyrillic alphabet and the Greek alphabet have a lot in common, for sure. This is ioticization. Oh, it is. Okay. For some reason, like, I only really associated ioticization with modern Greek, but yeah, moving it to the front of the mouth, right? Like, or I guess to the top of the mouth. Like Nyx to Nyx. Interesting. Cool. O just fronted to what? Yeah, interesting. Nook from Animal Crossing is night incarnate. So true, Math. Welcome in, Math. Math, aren't you supposed to be, like, practicing and preparing for your tourney match? But I guess it's like in an hour and a half, right? It's going to be great. Can't wait to tune in. Good luck with that. Hope to catch most of it later. Modern Greek did further the ioticization to a ridiculous degree. Yeah, so modern Greek is quite interesting, and what's really interesting is that apparently in my intro to ancient Greek class next semester, I have a few folks with Greek names. So I anticipate that there are going to be some students that have some modern Greek that I'm going to have to apologize to a lot, because ancient Greek, upsilon is pronounced u, epsilon is pronounced e, eta is pronounced a, and other things like that in ancient Greek. In modern Greek, how many things? It's like eta, iota, upsilon. There are like 3 or 4 different vowels and like 4 or 5 different diphthongs that all get pronounced as e, which is not the case in ancient Greek. So we're definitely gonna have to unlearn a few things, I think, next semester. They also did something very funnily similar to French. Interesting, cool. Attempting to eat and feel like shit. Oh, I'm sorry, Math. Background for the moment. Summoning to the PC is later your problem. Hey, let's go. I hope you feel better soon, Math. But I hope that eating helps. I hope you're able to get some rest today. I know that it's been a little hard adjusting back from the West Coast, but I hope that you are feeling better soon. Ooh went from ooh to ooh. Yeah. Greek just went a step further, now pronounces upsilon as that I sound. Yeah, very cool stuff. I love linguistics. In another life, I would have been a linguistics person rather than just a pure classicist. In another life, I also would have been a computer programmer or a web developer, but that's neither here nor there. I believe in Nyx. I'm grateful that you put us into contact. I know you took a considerable risk in reaching out. So, again, the idea is that we're trying to escape from the underworld, and the Olympian gods are trying to help us along the way. Apparently, Nyx was our contact for those
The risk
gods.
is not to me. I expected the Olympians would involve themselves in this eventually. Reveal to them no more than they already know. Are we understood?
Language, so true.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Go.
All right, so now we go into our bedroom. That is quite cozy, in
Hey,
fact.
room, I'm back.
Hey, room, I'm back. We've got some notes in the corner here.
Chambers of Prince Zagreus lie in a perpetual state of utter disarray. despite his lord and master of the house repeatedly insisting that he pick everything up.
How dare you, Hades?
Oh, come on. It's not that bad, is it?
His room is no more messy than mine is right now. Let's just say that much. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't really look that untidy, right? What am I a professor of? I'm a professor of classics. So I teach Latin, Greek, and ancient civilization. So talking about the ancient Greeks, the ancient Romans, in terms of culture, literature, narrative, and things like that. So I teach a lot of classes on ancient Latin language, ancient Greek language, courses in translation. So we read things like Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, and Ovid's Metamorphoses, and things like that. If that's utter disarray, then I live in a dumpster? Exactly. There's a reason why I have my green screen up right now. No, I'm kidding. My living room's actually pretty fine right now, but anyway, it's neither here nor there. Yeah. Very comfy bed here.
Not even tired, thanks.
Tried to rest, but not even tired, thanks. Over here, however, we get the Mirror of Night.
Night and darkness guide me.
Which one Quacksilver plays and one Cthulhu are going to become very, very familiar with during their Max Mirror of Night race, which starts up in just 4 hours. I'm kidding. I think I will. I can't get a dash. Can't get my extra dash here because I need 50. I need 20 more darkness. Shoot. Huge bed where absolutely nothing happens ever. So true. How dare you tease me like that? No. Both Quack and Math are quite busy folks. But soon at TM. Crawdont has been caught by Dunks. Let's go, Dunks. GG's. Alright. We're going to meet Skelly here. And I don't really have much to say about Skelly.
Okay.
Actually, are we? Oh, maybe we don't meet Skelly until... Well, are we going to meet Skelly?
There we go. Coronacht, the Heart Seeker. Let's deal some...
There we go.
Psst, over here.
What the...
So, Skelly, not an ancient character, but...
Nice place you got here, boyo. Name Skelly has it going, but enough with the small talk already. I'm here to do a job. So let me have it. Give me everything you got.
I don't remember having you on payroll, mate. Who's your supervisor?
You're not my supervisor.
Oh, I'm not about to wrap my sources, pal. Just try and beat it out of me.
If you insist.
Taking a shot?
So, Skelly is our training dummy. Because in your romps around the underworld, you can use various weapons, and if you want to try them out and see what different types of weapons do, then Skelly is helpful for that.
Whoops.
Because you can kill Skelly, and then...
Bet I got you pretty good.
Okay, so I guess there's no more dialogue there.
Blade. I can do this. First get past the wretched shades of Tartarus. Easier said than done. And doubtless I'll be running into Meg. The River of Flame ought to be just beyond. Find a way up to Elysium from there, and after that... Alright, let's give it another shot. I can escape from the courtyard back there.
So we've got those 4 biomes as I talked about. We start in Tartarus, we go to Asphodel, River of Flame, and then we go to Elysium, Land of the Blessed, and then Styx is the final biome that we need to get out of. Farthest chamber reach is 15. I think my farthest is like 60, I think, for a full clear. But I could be wrong about that. Max Mirror Night going to happen soon, the same way Silk Song is coming out soon. So true. Skelly is the most important character in mythology. Very true. All right, let's go ahead and do another run here. Got 30 more minutes. Actually, in fact, let me start the ad a little bit early, I think, so I can just stand up and stretch a little bit. I'll go to my BRB scene, so no one's going to be missing anything while the ads are running. And then when I come back, we'll keep on going to the end. To 2 p.m. is when this stream will end at 2 p.m. Eastern. So let me tab on out. I'm going to move over to my BRB scene. You're not going to be missing anything at all while ads are running. I'll be back in a few minutes after I stand up, stretch, grab a new seltzer. Got my puller here. And when I come back, we'll try another run. We'll see who we meet and what else we can talk about. Asphodel is cognate with Daffodil. No, it's not. You're making this up now. Is it actually? Okay, I'm going to come back to the explanation of this, but I'm very excited about it. All right, have a good break, everybody. See you on the other side in a few minutes. Bye. All right, everybody, I am back. Hope you all had a good break. Let me switch on over back to my educational scene. Hello. All right, we are back. It seems like it's true. I'll have to look it up later because Asphodel, Daffodil. Yeah, I guess, but I'm quite interested in how that works. Thanks for using the About Me and Discord commands there, Neon Lights. All right. We've got our sword equipped. Let's see who we can meet in this run.
Strength. Thunder.
Aha.
Is that?
So, Thunder, is that? I wonder who it could be.
Is this really him? Okay. In the name of Hades, Olympus, I accept this message.
So actually, let me pull up my notes just to make sure that I give you correct information here.
Greetings there, young man. Look, your father's always been rather difficult, and he's not so much as called in quite some time. You'll have a better home where you belong, here on Olympus. And to help you on your journey, have my blessing.
So here is Zeus, king of the Olympian gods. Also god of the thunderbolt as well, which is why you see that his symbol for the boon is a lightning bolt, as well as the thing that he has in his hand there, also being a lightning bolt. So, the fun fact, quote-unquote, about Zeus has to do with his Roman counterpart, who is Jupiter. And specifically, this will come as no surprise to those that are in Latin 2212 right now, since we're reading Ovis Metamorphoses, but Jupiter in particular, and Zeus for that matter, over on the Greek side, are not paragons of virtue. they are not exactly the kinds of folks that we're supposed to be patterning our own behavior as mortals after. Because, in particular, Jupiter is an adulterer, and a philanderer. He cheats on his wife, Hera/Juno, all the time, and worse, he foists himself upon women that have a lot less power than him all the time. In the Metamorphoses by Ovid, which is an epic poem of the 1st century BCE and CE, there are narratives that depict Jupiter disguising himself as various gods or different people in order to have sex with girls without their awareness. So Jupiter is prone to acts of sexual aggression and trickery, especially as exemplified in Ovid's Metamorphoses, which is what we're reading in Latin 2212 right now. Zeus Jupiter, not very good. And in fact, this you'll get a bonus fact here as well, one that relates to Greco-Roman religion more generally. When we talk about religion in a modern sense, particularly if you're coming from a Christian or a Catholic viewpoint, there's often a tendency to try to equate religious systems with a sense of morality or ethics, in the sense that, you know, the Bible tells us how to act in certain situations, or things that we're supposed to do, follow the 10 Commandments and whatnot, right? There's a real binding of ethics and morality into religious systems. Basically, we follow these religious systems because these are our ethical and moral beliefs. These are the things that we're supposed to be doing. Greco-Roman religion, Greek religion and Roman religion for that matter, as separate entities, were not necessarily meant to be ethical guides, in the sense that we're supposed to idolize Zeus, or we're supposed to follow in the example of Diana or other folks like that. The point of Greek religion and Roman religion was more transactional, in the sense that the gods have certain powers and certain domains where they can make your life a lot easier or a lot harder. The idea is that you as a mortal had to do things for the gods to make them better disposed towards you. You're supposed to pray the right way, you're supposed to make sacrifices the right way, and make sacrifices of important things like animals with good meat, or important crops, or pouring out your wine, or things like that. You're supposed to make prayers the right way, you're supposed to make sacrifices the right way, you're supposed to visit temples in the right way, and leave certain gifts in the right way, in order to make the gods happy. If you make the gods happy, then they'll do something for you in return. So Greek religion and Roman religion was not predicated necessarily upon ethics or morals, but upon transactions and reciprocality. This very sort of quid pro quo idea, wherein if you do something for the gods, they'll do something for you in return. So when we talk about Jupiter doing these terrible things, or when we talk about gods being petty or selfish or things like that, it's because we're not supposed to be following in their footsteps necessarily. But they do have power, and they can make our lives a living hell if we don't show reverence or respect to them by acting in certain ways. So certain sets of practices around the worship of the gods are known as the gods' cult, from the Latin verb colui, cultus, which means to foster or to cultivate. It's the verb that we use when we talk about raising crops. And when we talk about the cult of a god, we're talking about a series of practices and behaviors that are meant to foster a good relationship with the god. That is itself is predicated upon the idea that the gods are looking for you to do things for them. It's not about living a good moral life or living according to an ethical code. It's just about making your life easier by having the gods on your side. So that gets tied into what I just talked about in terms of Jupiter/Zeus, because again, even though he's the king of the gods, we're not meant to put him up on this pedestal. There are these stories that date as far back as Homer's Iliad that show Zeus as a petty, selfish, self-involved being that does some really terrible things. So again, ancient religion predicated upon reciprocality and transaction as opposed to morals or ethics necessarily. Maybe it could lead to moral and ethical living, but that wasn't where we started necessarily. Character designs in this game are pretty cool. The artwork in this game is just absolutely phenomenal. The voice acting is phenomenal. Shoutouts Cordenberry for voice acting Dusa and Aphrodite. The gameplay is just so good. Like, God, like Supergiant just like knocked it out of the park. And I'm like kind of anxious to see how Hades 2 will come out. It should be coming out in early access next year. But God, this game is just so good. There's a real binding in the Bible. Yep, so true. All right. So, God of the Thunderbolt. Shockingly enough, Zeus's moons all have to do with lightning in some way, shape, or form. Let's go Lightning Strike because that's fun. Hades 2 nuts. So true. Hades 2, what is this but make it more sapphic? So true. Where the main character will be a female character. Shockingly, huh? Unintentional pun, but you know, we'll take it. Actually, let's do cast. Zeus cast is really good. Yeah. Lord Uncle Zeus lending his support. Actually, there's something over here.
Composed of such innumerable, ever-shifting, interlocking chambers, the underworld of Lord Hades all but guarantees the dead shall there remain until the end of time.
You meant that Nemesis exists for that too.
Good thing I'm not dead.
AoE is goated in this game. So good. Wish Nemesis actually had a waist. I mean, I wish I didn't have a waist, so... It's all about balance. Can I please dash strike you? Thank you.
This can unlock something back home.
Got a palm. Okay, so again, not needing any gods right now. This is just a better resource to power up individual boons that you pick up on your run. Those that are eagle-eyed will notice that I'm wielding the sword very much like a later sword that you get, Nemesis, just because I'm very used to fighting with sword in that way. Yeah. Come on, it escaped. Oh no. Sad. Ow. Ow. Rude. All right, so we've got a heart on this boon. I wonder who this could be.
Got to keep going. Skullomats.
All right, so we've got a heart here. Let me get my cursor over to scroll my notes just to make sure. There you are. All right. So we've got a heart here. I wonder who this could be.
It must be a mess. Let's see here. Hi there. In the name of Hades, Olympus, I accept this message.
Why, hello there, little godling. I have to say you're quite the specimen, and so I've decided I shall aid you for the moment. You interested?
So here we are with Aphrodite, the goddess of love, sex, and relationships. You can see her characterization definitely lends itself to that interpretation in terms of the hair and the bodysuit and all of that. Aphrodite, pretty cool. The fun fact about Aphrodite and her Roman counterpart Venus has to do with the idea of the gods, again, as sort of anthropomorphized in the sense that they basically take on the appearance and the customs of the humans that think about them or worship them or generate them. How to phrase this? The gods take on appearances like human beings, even though they don't necessarily need to. When they want to be in disguise or when they want to make themselves known to mortals, but they can also do other things that normal mortals do, like, for example, having sex and having relationships. So Aphrodite in particular is married, canonically, according to Greek myth, to a Greek god named Hephaestus, whose Roman counterpart is Vulcan. Hephaestus / Vulcan is the blacksmith god. He's the one that you go to when you want to make weapons, like a sword, or armor, like a breastplate. And in fact, Hephaestus is the one that will help create armor for Achilles in the Iliad, after his armor gets stolen by Hector off of the body of Patroclus in book 16. So Aphrodite is married to Hephaestus / Vulcan, but is not very faithful to him. And in fact, one of the most famous stories involving Aphrodite in Greek literature shows up in the Odyssey, where Aphrodite is actually cheating on her husband Hephaestus with Ares, the god of war. So yeah. Yeah, I guess it's not a bodysuit, huh? I thought that the tone of her the tones of her body and the tones of her face were different, but I guess not. Yeah, she's fully naked. Cool. Interesting. Bodysuit. Of course, it's a suit. You think she's down there? Jesus Christ, Blake. Use it canonically? You're right, exactly. Yeah. As soon as the word came out of my mouth, I was like, no, canonically doesn't make any sense. All right. So here, let's go down this rabbit hole for a little bit, right? When we think about the myths, right, and we think about modern receptions of myths like this video game or like Song of Achilles or other things like that, there's a tendency, myself included, to think about the source material and to try to take it back to like the original version of the story or the canonical version of the story. The thing, however, though, is that even in the ancient world, within the realm of ancient Greece and ancient Rome, any given mythological character had at least a dozen different versions, depending on who you're listening to tell the story. There was a version of, for example, with Aphrodite herself, there are at least 2 or 3 different stories about how she was born. And this actually could be another fun fact if you want to include it. The story of Aphrodite's birth in, I believe it's the Theogony by Hesiod, is that Aphrodite is actually born from a primordial god named Uranos. Okay, hold on. We need to go backward here. The Olympian gods exist on this level. The gods that existed before them are called the Titans, and then there's another level above that. So in the level of the Titans, you have Kronos, who is the precursor, I guess, to Zeus, and then his father Uranos, who was like the god before that. The birth of Aphrodite, according to Hesiod's Theogony, comes from the fact that Kronos castrated his father Uranos and flung his genitals into the sea. And where the genitals hit the sea, with all the blood and all the gore that came about as a result of the castration, there was a lot of foam, and out of the foam rises Aphrodite, who gets born from the castration of Uranos. So yeah, when we talk about the quote-unquote canonical version of a myth, it doesn't really exist because that story of Aphrodite's birth coexisted alongside other versions of Aphrodite's birth and other stories involved with her makeup. So there should be this resistance that I should be exhibiting as well to using words like canonical or original when it comes to talking about mythological figures or stories, because canonical according to who, and original according to who? We weren't there. We don't necessarily know. And what we do know is that there are so many different versions of any one story that we can't really claim canonicity or originality for any one of them. I wouldn't even be the little god of Sexu. So true. Hey, Score, Pokemon in. Hope you're doing well. Wait, hold on. Where are we? Dang, Aphrodite. Gonna get you banned? So true. Religious in origin. Wait, the term canonical is religious in origin? I mean, so canonical comes from the Greek kanon, right? Which is like the measure of something. And it comes to mean like the group of texts or the group of the set of evidence that we use for what is representative of any given culture. I don't know. It's interesting. You've heard a different version of the story yourself. Exactly, right? Something about being born from the leg of another god. So that one is actually... That one is Dionysus, actually. The story of Dionysus, and this can be a story for your fun fact as well, students, if you want to include that in your 3-2-1. Dionysus was going to be born of a mortal woman named Semele, Semele. And Semele herself was impregnated by Zeus. But Semele wanted to see Zeus in his full glory. And she got him to swear an oath that he would grant her anything that she asked for. And then she asked to see him in his full glory. And Zeus knew that doing this would cause Semele to die, because mortals are not allowed to look at gods in their full glory without spontaneously combusting. So he was oath-bound to do this, knowing that Semele would die, and knowing that Semele was pregnant. But as Semele explodes, or I forget exactly what happens to Semele, he takes the fetal form of Dionysus, who's in the womb of Semele, and sews Dionysus into his thigh, to bring Dionysus to full term, to then be born out of the thigh of Zeus. So that's the story of the birth of Dionysus. That is quite interesting and quite fucked in various ways. In terms of the gender bending of it. Dionysus is often seen as the gender bending god in Greco-Roman myth for various reasons. The fact that he was born out of a male deity's leg instead of being born quote unquote normally. The fact that he flouts norms of masculinity and in terms of his dress and appearance. There are lots of ways in which Dionysus does his own thing. Excuse me. A canon in religions like Holy Scriptures. Oh yeah, for sure. Semantically bleached, yeah. So he's like 0.5 Dionysus makes sense. So true. So yeah, Aphrodite, goddess of love. Also, shout outs to the voice actress for Aphrodite and Dusa, whose name is Cortenberry on Twitch. She does stream, has a very, very comfy stream. So feel free to drop her a follow. So yeah, Aphrodite, goddess of love. Heartbreak Flourish, yeah. Let's go ahead and do that.
Interested in the power to break hearts?
All right, about 9 more minutes. Let's see how far we can take this run. Ow.
Nice.
You see Pure Lore? Only a little bit, but honestly, the stories are all in this mythic nexus soup. All right, let's go for Dionysus. Okay, so this fight sucks when you are when you're at the very beginning of the game. I actually might die here. Okay, scary. Get Doomstone, so true. In French, to say that someone thinks they come from Jupiter's thigh means that someone thinks very highly of themselves. Interesting. What's the actual French for that? That is fascinating. Get Doomstoned. All right, Dionysus. Do I have another fun fact about Dionysus? I hope I do. Ooh, yeah, I have a great fun fact about Dionysus, in fact.
Ooh, you're in no shape to be going off. What happened to you there? Well, here, you know what? Let me see if we can get you back into it, man.
Look, the Doomstone happened to me, okay? Look, no one's ever left the Doomstone room with more than 5 HP. That's all I'm saying. For instance, you could say, il se croit sorti de la cuisse de Jupiter. Wow. He thinks he can. I love that. That's really great. Amazing. Okay. Fun fact about Dionysus has to do with his Roman counterpart. The name Dionysus applies either for Greek or for Rome. Another term that shows up in both cultures as well is the name Bacchus as well, from which we get the name of Euripides' play, The Bacchae, but that's not the fun fact. The fun fact has to do with the Roman version of Dionysus slash Bacchus, and specifically the worship of Dionysus and Bacchus. As I mentioned before, each god has a cult that is a set of ritual practices and things that you're supposed to do to keep yourself in good graces with the god. That means performing sacrifices in a certain way. That means praying in a certain way and doing certain things that make the god happy. Because Dionysus is the god of wine and the god of revelry, in order to make the god happy, a lot of the rites involved with Dionysus had to do with partying or being social or having or drinking or doing things along those lines. And this became an issue for Roman governmental officials in the 2nd century BCE. The worship of Dionysus slash Bacchus in Rome largely took place behind closed doors, wherein men and women were mixing together, they were drinking, they were doing things ostensibly in worship of the god that seemed to be revelrous, meaning party related. But what the Roman governmental officials were worried about was less about the the revelric nature of the gatherings of the followers of Dionysus, and more about the fact that it was happening behind closed doors. Romans were extraordinarily suspicious about anything that could be perceived as collusion, or getting together to make a plan to overthrow the government or something along those lines. So for that reason, in the year 186 BCE, the worship of Dionysus was actually outlawed in the city of Rome, because of fears of potential uprisings being planned behind these closed doors, because of the fact that these were secret meetings that took place behind closed doors between men and women that involved alcohol. So the worship of Dionysus was heavily curtailed in 186 BCE in Rome, due to the social anxieties and the fear of revolution by the Roman elites at the time. So some pretty cool stuff, and some really interesting stuff about the interplay between religion and politics, religion and government, which basically were one and the same in Rome and in Athens, for that matter, ancient Greece. Aren't the Bacchanals also a Roman festival? Yeah, so up until about 186 BCE. And then I think Dionysus continues to get worshipped after that, but just in a very different way. Then revived in England after the Gunpowder Plot. There you go. Remember. All right, Dionysus. I like After Party here, because that means that I can get some HP back.
Strong stuff.
Damned lost souls with nowhere left to turn congregate in deepest Tartarus, where they fuse together with the earth itself into odious forms which defy description.
They basically turn into big crystals.
Doomstoned. All right, I'm actually going to snooze the next ad, just to get us past 2 p.m. to make sure that we can get there. It'd be a lot easier to conjure up a plot while sober. You know? True. When you're right with this. I'm supposed to get up to 40. Oh, after the next room, I guess. Okay. I forgot that you don't get stunned when you are an elite enemy. Well, that's great. So we're dead. Cool. Let's see who we can meet here in the house. Nailed it. Hey, thanks.
Paul says here one of the wretched thugs got you. Too bad. They're slow, but they hit pretty hard, I guess. Have you tried moving out of the way?
Drag me, Hypnos. Wow. Have you tried moving out of the way? No, I did not, in fact. I doubt on purpose so we can get more fun facts. That's exactly what I'm doing here, because I'm a good teacher. Thank you very much. No, where's Best Boy? Where's Best Boy? No, Best Boy, I miss you.
Keep at it, lad.
Educational death worth.
I've known great men throughout my life, and I can always tell when someone's better than their circumstances. Fight like I'd fight out there.
All right, so one of the last fun facts that we'll share here in the last few minutes of the stream has to do again with etymologies in terms of Achilles' name. Take a look at that ACH part at the very beginning. The Greek term achos, alpha, key, omicron, sigma. I was about to say ACHOS, but that's not how you do that in Greek. The term achos in ancient Greek means grief or pain. So Achilles, by virtue of his name, is someone who's predisposed to feeling pain or grief. And if you've read the Iliad, or if you've taken my Greco-Roman gender sexuality class, or my masterpieces of Greek literature and English translation class, you'll know where the grief in Achilles' story comes from. In the Iliad, basically the loss of Patroclus leads him to rejoining the Greek war against the Trojans in order to avenge his fallen Patroclus. Nota bene, this is speculative, so true.
Hell as you once did Achilles, though doubtless many of the shades who stand against me first arrived in Tartarus because of you.
Let me scroll my notes. I think the last fun fact that we'll share will be about Hades. I just want to be sure that I'm giving a good one to end on here. Yeah, sure. Is this where the English 8 comes from? I do believe so. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to etymologies in general, like there's some that are more speculative, but I think that in the Iliad there actually is like a specific reference from Thetis, I think, that says like, you who are destined for grief because of your name, or something along those lines, right?
Who's that sniveling shade to your immediate left there, Father? Already found someone new to do the busy work, and here I thought I was utterly indispensable.
That shade boy is my newly designated contractor, one whose responsibility is to work on this house. Though who shall pay for everything my subjects here demand, I do not know.
All right, so Hades, once again, god of the dead. The last fun fact that I'm going to share with you is not a fun fact at all, but it has to do with the larger story of this game and the mythology that it ties into. One of the most famous depictions of Hades, or the most involved narratives that involves Hades in ancient Greek literature, comes in a poem called the Homeric Hymn to Demeter. And in that story, Hades kidnaps the daughter of Demeter, whose name is Persephone, in order to make Persephone his wife in the underworld. He does this with the blessing of Zeus, the king of the gods, and Demeter's brother, and thereby the uncle of Persephone, but without the sanction of her mother, Demeter. So Hades abducts Persephone, the daughter of Demeter, to be his wife, quote unquote, with the blessing of Zeus in the Homeric Hymn to Demeter. This kernel of the story as a narrative forms the groundwork on which this video game is based, because later on in the story, spoiler alert, sorry, Persephone will actually show up as a character in this game, and one of the major points of the game is to try to get to know Persephone and try to understand like how she fits into this story. But it's not just here, it's also in modern novels and graphic novels. For example, Lore Olympus by Rachel Smythe is a webcomic turned graphic novel, I think, or maybe it still is a webcomic, that riffs on the Persephone-Hades relationship in a very different way, where Persephone and Hades become almost like star-crossed lovers instead of one being the abductee of an abductor. This is one of the thorny points of reception, wherein modern authors and modern artists can reuse and repurpose ancient characters and narratives for their own artistic or political reasons. And there's a lot of talk right now in classics and classical studies about ways in which we can talk responsibly about not only the modern adaptations, but also the ancient source material without rejecting or doing a disservice to one or the other out of pocket. Because if you try to depict Persephone and Hades as being in a consensual relationship, that is extraordinarily counter to what is actually there in the ancient evidence. If, however, you make it very, very clear that you're making your own version of the story, that you understand what the ancient precedent is, but then you're doing your own thing, creating your own narrative, then that's a different story. But in book talk communities and modern social media, there tends to be a real sort of like flattening down of the intricate and complicated ways in which ancient and modern get related. So when, for example, there's pushback from classicists in terms of like, well, Persephone and Hades didn't have the most healthy relationship, you might see somebody on modern social media saying something like, well, they do in Lore Olympus, or they do in Hades, or they do in this TikTok, right? And that's something that we need to do a better job of articulating and talking about. The ways in which reception of the ancient world gives us an avenue into thinking not only about ancient culture and ancient norms, but also about ones that we hold in the modern day. Why are we inclined to see Persephone and Hades as a relationship of equals instead of the disparate relationship of power that it was in the ancient sources? It's quite interesting stuff. Ache is purely Germanic. Really interesting. Got vanquished? Sure did. Greek word akos comes from a very similar root, meaning to be upset or afraid. Interesting. Successful graphic novel? Cool. Eat 6 pomegranate seeds which appear in game as a reward? Yeah, exactly. All right, so we are currently at 2:04 p.m. So with that, we go back to our main screen and we end our stream. So students, thank you so much for tuning in, whether you've been here live or if you are watching this VOD after the fact. Right after we're done here, I'm going to save the VOD link and send it to you via Blackboard so that you can watch this after the fact and get your 3-2-1s in. So a quick reminder that the the assignment is to write down 3 things that you learned, 2 things that you found interesting and want to learn more about, 1 thing that remains unclear or that you have a question about, and submit that to Blackboard. And it'll be due on our final day of class on December 11th, so a week from this coming Monday at our respective class start times. So if you have any questions about the material, please feel free to email me, let me know about it, and I'm more than happy to chat with you about it. And yeah, not going to do it, but thanks, Fair, and enough Neon Lights. Yeah, and thank you everybody else who are not my students for tuning in and for keeping chat lively. It has been a good time. Let me see if I can snooze again, because we have about a minute left. Excellent. Okay, so we can snooze for 5 more minutes. I may be going live again later today, with a normal grad stream. My goal for today is to rearrange my desk and to get this guy, my new internal capture card, installed in my PC for the purpose of playing with my Switch. So I might be going live later on today. I'm not entirely sure whether I will. I'll let you know on my Discord whether that's happening or not. But yeah, thanks everyone for hanging out. I am going to raid someone that I believe I am raiding too early to raid anybody that's involved with the rando tourney. Maybe we won't raid anyone because I'm not seeing anybody to raid right now on my follow list. But if anyone has any suggestions, feel free, but I might just end stream here. But yeah, in any case, welcome back, Mika. You are coming back at a great time indeed. But yeah, education stream was fun. All right, thanks everyone for hanging out. I hope you all had a good time. I won't do my usual stream and spiel because this is an educational stream, but yeah, if you're my students, I will see you on Monday for our final week of classes, plus 1 more day after that. If everyone else is hanging out, I will see you all in the streams later on today. Celeste Community has a bingo going on. Interesting. I think I might just end stream though. But yeah, thanks everyone for hanging out. See you all soon. If you are Hollow Knightedly inclined, remember that the loser semifinal, I think, in the rando tourney between Math and Jet and Tim and Quado is happening at 3 p.m. Eastern today, so in about 53 minutes over at HKC. So yeah, I'll see you all there in that chat while I am tearing apart my desk here. Have a great rest of your day, and see you all soon. Bye, everyone.